There comes a moment in your life when you realize no one is coming to save you, no magic spark, no sudden burst of motivation, no perfect timing. If you want a better future, you have to force yourself into progress today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, today. Because every day you hesitate, your future shrinks. And every day you push forward, your future expands. Your destiny is being shaped right now, in this moment, by what you choose to do or what you choose to avoid. Progress is the lifeblood of fulfillment. When you strip everything else away, every title, every achievement, every possession, we are left with one truth. Human beings are built to grow. We are wired to expand. And the moment we stop growing, something inside us begins to shut down. You felt it before. That heaviness, that quiet frustration, that sense that you were meant for more but somehow stuck in the same patterns, the same routines, the same emotional loops. That feeling doesn't come from failure, it comes from stagnation. Failure actually energizes us because at least we're times moving asterisk. Stagnation is what drains your spirit. Progress, even the smallest shift, brings life back into your body. It gives you a spark. Think about the last time you set a goal and actually took one step toward it, just one. Maybe you started a workout routine, made a difficult phone call, launched the first part of a business idea, or simply cleaned a space you've ignored for months. The step was small, but your energy changed immediately. Why? Because progress equals fulfillment. Because at our core, we're not driven by perfection, we're driven by expansion. The human spirit comes alive when it feels itself moving forward. So many people wait for fulfillment to show up after the progress. They say, once I get the promotion, once I lose the weight, once I make this much money, once I find the right person, then I'll feel energized. Then I'll feel confident. But it doesn't work that way. Fulfillment doesn't come from the accomplishment, it comes from the times, journey times, of becoming the kind of person capable of accomplishing it. You got to understand this, the result is never the reward. The reward is who you become on the road to that result. When you feel stuck in life, it's rarely because the world is holding you back. It's because you've stopped demanding progress from yourself. You don't need breakthroughs every day. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. What you need is movement, forward motion, a shift in energy that tells your brain, we're not done, we're still growing, we're still becoming. When you stop growing, your standards drop. You accept less passion, less drive, less excitement, less aliveness, and once your standards fall, your life follows. But the good news is this, progress works the other way too. One decision to rise, one moment of courage, one action taken when you didn't feel like it. That's all it takes to wake the system back up. That one shift tells your mind, we're leveling up again. And instantly your energy rises. Your belief rises. Your identity rises. Every transformation starts with that spark. People underestimate the power of small daily progress because they're so obsessed with massive results. But the giant leaps only happen because you've been taking the smaller steps consistently. You build certainty by following through. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself. You build momentum by stacking small wins until they become undeniable. And here's the truth. You already know what progress looks like for you. You know what habits you've been avoiding. You know what decisions you've been postponing. You know what dreams you put on hold. The answers aren't hidden. They're sitting right in front of you, waiting for you to decide that you're done living on the sidelines of your own potential. Progress requires honesty. It requires saying, I'm not where I want to be yet, but today I'm moving 1 inch closer. That honesty isn't weakness, it's power. It's the starting point for reclaiming your future. Because once you commit to daily progress, even imperfect progress, you take control back from your excuses and hand it to your vision. You've been through seasons of life where you were unstoppable. You've tasted momentum before. You've had moments where everything clicked because you were growing. Don't let those moments be memories. Let them be reminders. If you could create that progress once, you can do it again. You just have to stop waiting for motivation to strike and start demanding progress from yourself right now. The force that shapes your destiny isn't luck, talent, or timing, it's growth. As long as you are growing, your future is expanding. As long as you are growing, your power is rising. As long as you are growing, life will meet you with new opportunities, new breakthroughs, and new levels of fulfillment. So choose progress today. Choose the step instead of the excuse. Choose the inch forward instead of the comfort of staying still. Because the moment you commit to progress, everything in your life begins to shift. Everything. And it starts right now. Most people wait for motivation like it's some magical force that's supposed to sweep in and carry them toward their dreams. They sit around hoping to feel inspired, hoping to feel ready, hoping for the perfect moment when everything lines up and taking action suddenly feels effortless. But life doesn't work that way. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants to, and it disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. If you live your life waiting for motivation, you're handing your future over to your emotions, and your emotions were never designed to be in charge of your destiny. What creates real momentum isn't motivation. It's action. Action is the spark. Action is the thing that turns a tired, unfocused mind into a determined, unstoppable force. The moment you start moving, no matter how messy, no matter how uncertain, you generate a different energy inside your body. Your brain wakes up, your physiology shifts, your focus sharpens, you start to feel capable, even powerful, simply because you move. That's the secret most people never learn. You don't take action because you're motivated. You become motivated because you took action. Think about the times in your life when you were stuck, when everything felt heavy, when you kept telling yourself you needed to feel ready. Did waiting ever help? Probably not. But I guarantee you can remember moments when you forced yourself to start. Maybe you got up early and went to the gym even though you were tired, or you sat down to work on something you'd been avoiding, or you made a phone call you were afraid to make. And the second you started, something changed. The resistance faded. The energy kicked in. You began to feel different. That wasn't motivation. That was the energy created by action. The mind loves to lie to you. It tells you that you aren't ready, that you need more information, that the timing isn't right, that the path isn't clear enough. But the truth is, clarity comes from movement. Confidence comes from movement. Certainty comes from movement. You can think, plan, dream, and strategize forever, but the moment you physically do something, anything, you shift from being stuck in your head to being alive in your body, and that's when progress begins. The moment you move, your entire nervous system gets the message, we're doing this whether we feel like it or not. That's why you must train yourself to act before you feel ready. You must build the habit of stepping forward, even when your mind whispers excuses. When you make action your default, you rewrite your internal programming. Instead of waiting for motivation, you create it. Instead of being controlled by your emotions, you influence them. Instead of living life reactively, you start living it on your terms. When you understand that your future depends on what you do, not how you feel, everything changes. You stop negotiating with your limitations. You stop letting fear decide for you. You stop assuming you need permission to move forward. You realize that you have more agency, more control, more internal fire than you've been giving yourself credit for. You realize that the spark you've been waiting for comes from within you, not from the outside. Action breaks patterns. Action disrupts fear. Action interrupts doubt. You cannot think your way out of a rut, but you can move your way out of one. You can sit with anxiety all day, or you can take a step that weakens its grip. You can wrestle with uncertainty in your mind for hours, or you can take a small action that brings clarity. You can argue with your excuses, or you can take action so quickly that your excuses don't have time to catch up. Your job isn't to feel motivated every day. Your job is to do what needs to be done and let motivation rise as a byproduct of your commitment. Discipline creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. And motivation, once it appears, becomes fuel, but only if it comes after action, not before. You've had moments when you proved this to yourself, times when you didn't want to do something, but you did it anyway, and afterward you felt incredible. You felt proud. You felt stronger. You felt like someone who could handle whatever came next. That feeling wasn't luck. It was earned. It was created by your willingness to act in the face of resistance. The truth is, the future you want isn't built on inspiration, it's built on decisions. It's built on a pattern of choosing action over hesitation, progress over comfort, discipline over impulse. Every step you take without waiting for motivation is a step toward becoming the version of yourself who follows through no matter what. And once you become that person, nothing can stop you. Start moving, even if the step is small, especially if the step is small. Because once you move, the energy shifts. And once the energy shifts, your life shifts. And it starts with the step you take right now. People think success is built on those big breakthrough moments, the massive decision, the dramatic change, the heroic leap. But the truth is, those moments only happen because of something far less glamorous, the tiny, consistent actions that compound over time. Small daily wins, the kind of wins most people overlook because they seem too simple, too boring, too insignificant to matter. but they matter more than anything. Your life is not shaped by what you do once in a while. It's shaped by what you do every single day. Think about the most successful people you know or the ones you admire from afar. It's not that they're smarter or luckier or more gifted. It's that they've mastered the art of showing up every day without excuses, without waiting for inspiration. They understand something most people never truly grasp: consistency beats intensity. One small action, repeated consistently, will outwork a burst of effort that only lasts a day. And because those actions compound, they eventually create a transformation that seems sudden from the outside, but was built quietly, gradually, behind the scenes. The problem is, we live in a world obsessed with instant results. Everyone wants the shortcut, the hack, the quick fix. They want to skip the process and jump straight to the reward. But life doesn't reward the person who wants everything now. Life rewards the person who can commit to a small step every day, even when progress feels invisible, even when results aren't showing yet, even when no one is clapping. Because the compounding effect doesn't announce itself. It works quietly until one day it becomes undeniable. Imagine planting a seed. You water it, you give it sunlight, you nurture it, and for a long time, nothing seems to happen. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even months. And most people give up in that invisible stage because they think their effort isn't working. But beneath the surface, roots are growing, foundations are forming. The strength is building where no one can see it yet. And when the breakthrough finally comes, it comes not because of that day, it comes because of every day before it. Your habits work the same way. Your discipline works the same way. Your mindset works the same way. Every small win you stack, waking up a little earlier, choosing the healthier meal, reading 10 minutes a day, making one extra phone call, practicing that skill for 15 minutes, those small wins might feel tiny, but they are rewiring you. They're shaping your identity. They're building the version of you who gets results. The danger comes when people underestimate the power of small actions. They think, it's just one workout I skipped. It's just one day I slacked off. It's just one morning I slept in. But those little misses also compound. Neglect compounds just as powerfully as discipline. The same way small wins build your future, small compromises destroy it. Every small step either takes you closer to the life you want or further into the life you're trying to escape. There is no neutral. What you do daily becomes who you are, and who you are determines what your future becomes. When you commit to small daily wins, you shift your identity from someone who tries to someone who follows through, from someone who hopes to someone who acts, from someone who gets motivated by results to someone who gets motivated by consistency. That's power. That's where your confidence is born, not from giant leaps, but from knowing you can trust yourself to take the next step. The beautiful thing about small wins is that they're accessible. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need a surge of inspiration. You don't need an hour of free time. You just need a decision. One moment, one step. And when you stack enough of those, they begin to change the way you see yourself. Suddenly, you're no longer the person who procrastinates or doubts or delays. You're the person who takes action. You're the person who shows up. You're the person who honors their future with what they do today. We underestimate how quickly life can change when we're consistent. 3 months of small daily wins can create more transformation than 3 years of inconsistent effort. People think they need a major breakthrough to change their lives, but most breakthroughs are actually built long before they happen. They're built in the days when no one is watching, in the moments when you choose progress over comfort, in the quiet decisions that tell your brain we're moving forward. If you want to change your future, start by mastering your days. Don't chase the giant leap. Chase the small win that you can repeat. Because the moment you do, the compound effect begins working in your favor and your future begins shifting in ways you can't even imagine yet. And it all starts with a small win you commit to today. Discipline is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. People hear the word and they think of restriction, punishment, deprivation. They think discipline means cutting joy out of their lives or forcing themselves into some rigid box where there's no room to breathe. But discipline isn't the enemy. It's the gateway. It's the path to freedom, power, and everything you say you want. Discipline is the ability to take charge of your own mind, your own choices, your own direction. It's the only way to stop living at the mercy of your moods and start living by the standards you set for your future. When you don't have discipline, you become a slave to the moment, whatever feels good, whatever is easy, whatever helps you avoid discomfort. But comfort has never built a meaningful life. Comfort has never created greatness. Comfort has never produced fulfillment. Discipline is what gives you the ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. And when you start consistently choosing what you want most, you rise, you evolve, you become someone you respect. Understand this. Every single dream you have requires discipline. Every level of success you're chasing demands responsibility. You cannot build a strong body without discipline. You cannot build a thriving business without discipline. You cannot create emotional strength, financial security, or meaningful relationships without discipline. In every area of life, discipline is the price of admission to the future you want. And the moment you stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as power, everything shifts. Discipline isn't about controlling your whole life at once. It's about controlling the next choice, the next action, the next moment. Most people overwhelm themselves thinking they need to transform everything overnight. They tell themselves, I need to change my whole routine. I need to overhaul my whole life. That's a recipe for quitting. Discipline isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in single decisions repeated until they become second nature. It's built the same way a muscle is built, through repetition, resistance, and showing up even when you don't feel like it. And here's the part most people never realize. Discipline gives you more freedom, not less. When you're disciplined with your habits, you gain the freedom to feel strong, to feel confident, to feel capable. When you're disciplined with your finances, you gain the freedom to make choices instead of being trapped by stress. When you're disciplined with your time, you gain the freedom to create a life you enjoy rather than one you're constantly trying to escape. Discipline builds a structure that supports your dreams instead of suffocating them. Without discipline, you live reactively. You let life push you around. Your emotions dictate your day. Your impulses pull you in different directions. And every time you let your impulses win, you weaken your belief in yourself. You start telling yourself stories like, I'm just not consistent, I'm just not disciplined, that's just who I am. Those stories become your identity, and your identity dictates your behavior. But identity can be rewritten, and discipline is the pen you use to rewrite it. Every discipline action you take sends a powerful message to your brain, I can count on myself. You build self-respect not by achieving huge goals, but by following through on small promises. When you say you'll do something and actually do it, even when it's inconvenient, you strengthen the foundation of your character. And the stronger your character becomes, the easier discipline gets. It stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like alignment. Discipline also protects you from your weaker moments. It gives you something stronger to depend on than your feelings. Your feelings change. Your motivation changes. Your circumstances change. But discipline, once you build it, becomes a force you can rely on. It becomes the part of you that shows up even when you're tired, even when you're stressed, even when the excuses start whispering. It becomes the voice inside you that says, I know this is uncomfortable, but we're doing it anyway. And you know this is true because you've lived both sides of it. You've had moments when a lack of discipline made things harder, when avoiding something created more stress, when skipping something set you back, when choosing comfort stole your momentum. You've also had moments when discipline saved you, when you stuck to something you promised yourself, when you pushed through resistance, when you chose progress over ease and felt the power of that choice. You've tasted both, and you know which one leads to a better version of you. Discipline is also contagious. When you strengthen one area of your life, it spreads into others. You start cleaning up your environment, your habits, your relationships, your mindset. You start expecting more from yourself, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of possibility. You start to feel proud of who you're becoming, and that internal pride becomes fuel. It becomes momentum. It becomes certainty. The truth is, the world doesn't give freedom to people who avoid responsibility. The world gives freedom to people who earn it through discipline, through consistency, through choices that match the future they want, not the comfort they crave. Discipline is how you honor your vision. It's how you build the life you keep saying you deserve. So step into discipline not as a burden, but as a doorway. The doorway to your next level, the doorway to your potential, the doorway to the life you've been imagining. And it all begins with a choice you make today. Your standards are the invisible blueprint shaping every part of your life. They determine what you tolerate, what you pursue, what you accept, and what you absolutely refuse to settle for. Most people think their goals define their future, but goals are nothing without the standards that support them. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your standards. And the moment you raise those standards, the moment you draw a line in the sand about what is no longer acceptable in your life, everything begins to change. Standards are not wishes. They're not preferences. They're not things you hope will happen someday. Standards are the rules you live by, the boundaries you enforce, the identity you claim. When you say, this is who I am, this is what I expect for myself, this is the level I operate at, you create a new internal reality, a reality that demands alignment. And once your standards rise, your behavior rises, your discipline rises, your decisions rise, because you cannot maintain a high standard while living with low habits. One will eventually force the other to elevate or collapse. The truth is, everyone already has standards, they just don't realize it. You have a standard for how much energy you bring each day, a standard for how you treat your health, a standard for how hard you work, a standard for how you let people speak to you, a standard for how you respond to stress, a standard for how much joy, passion, or purpose you allow yourself to feel. The difference between people thriving and people surviving is simple. Thriving people raise their standards intentionally. They decide who they must become. Surviving people let life set their standards for them. When your standards are low, you live in reaction. You tolerate behaviors from yourself that you know are beneath you. You make excuses for why you're not showing up. You allow procrastination, chaos, or distraction to run your life. And every time you tolerate something that doesn't serve you, you reinforce the identity of someone who accepts less. That identity becomes a cage one you built without realizing it. But the moment you raise your standards, the cage cracks. You begin to demand more from yourself, not because someone told you to, but because you refuse to live another day beneath your potential. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop settling for good enough. You stop telling stories about why you can't change. Instead, you start acting in alignment with who you want to become. Raising your standards doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty, radical honesty, the kind that forces you to confront the truth about where your life is and the truth about where you want to go. And that honesty becomes power because it breaks the illusion that you can keep living the same way and somehow get a different outcome. It pulls you into ownership. It forces you to face the gap between who you are and who you're capable of being. And that gap isn't something to fear. It's an invitation. It's the space where growth happens. And your standards are the bridge that closes that gap. Think about the strongest breakthroughs in your life. They didn't happen because everything was easy. They happened because you hit a moment where you said, enough. I'm done living like this. I'm done accepting less. I'm done telling myself stories. This changes now. That decision, a standard rising, became the catalyst for everything that followed. It forced you to act differently. It pushed you to show up in a way you hadn't before. It stretched you into someone stronger, more disciplined, more focused. Your standards shape the way you talk to yourself. They shape the way you handle obstacles. They shape the way you respond to fear. When your standards are high, fear doesn't disappear, but you refuse to bow to it. You still feel discomfort, but you take action anyway. You still face resistance, but you push through it. Because you're no longer operating from the mindset of, I hope I can. You're operating from the mindset of, this is who I am now. People often say they want a better future, but their standards don't match the life they're asking for. They want clarity, but tolerate confusion. They want discipline, but tolerate excuses. They want success, but tolerate inconsistency. They want growth, but tolerate comfort. Your future doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you demand from yourself. The moment your standards rise, your entire life recalibrates. You attract different people, you make different choices, you fight for different outcomes. You take actions that once felt impossible because those actions now feel required, not optional, not occasional, required. And the beauty of raising your standards is that once you do, you can never fully go back. Your mind doesn't forget what you've decided you're capable of. Your heart doesn't forget the power you felt when you followed through. Your spirit doesn't forget the moment you refused to settle. Raising your standards is how you declare to yourself and to the world that you are ready for more. Not someday, not eventually, now. Because the life you want is built on the standards you uphold today. Identity drives everything. You can force yourself to take action for a while. You can push through resistance. You can rely on discipline and momentum. But if deep down you don't believe you're the kind of person who follows through, eventually your old identity will pull you right back to where you started. That's why real transformation doesn't begin with action, it begins with identity. The moment you shift who you believe yourself to be, your behavior starts to change automatically. You don't fight with yourself anymore. You don't negotiate. You don't keep bouncing between intention and hesitation. You simply act in alignment with who you've decided you are. We all have an internal narrative, a quiet story running beneath our choices. It's the voice that says, I'm consistent or I always procrastinate. It's the voice that says, I'm disciplined or I lose momentum. It's the voice that says, I'm capable or I'm not good enough. And here's the truth. Your brain is always working to prove your identity right, even if that identity is limiting you. If you believe you're someone who quits, you'll find reasons to quit. If you believe you're someone who can't stay consistent, you'll sabotage your own progress. But if you believe you're someone who keeps moving forward, someone who honors their commitments, someone who grows every day, your brain will work to support that story. That's why shifting your identity is the most powerful force in personal change. Once you become the person who follows through, taking action isn't a battle anymore. It becomes natural. You stop relying on motivation because your identity becomes the engine, and your identity is shaped by what you repeatedly do. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every choice either strengthens or weakens the identity you're trying to build. Most people try to change their lives with willpower alone, but willpower is fragile. It fades under pressure. It breaks down when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. Identity is stable. Identity is strong. Identity gives you something to stand on when everything around you feels uncertain. When you believe this is who I am now, the habits you once struggled to maintain become part of your nature. Think about times in your life when your identity shifted. Maybe you became a parent and suddenly you acted in ways you never thought you could because your identity demanded it. Maybe you decided you were someone who values health and going to the gym became something you just did, not something you debated. Maybe you started seeing yourself as someone who leads and you stopped waiting for permission to step into responsibility. Each of those changes began in your identity and your actions followed. To force yourself into daily progress, you have to become the person who does the work, not someone who tries to do the work. Trying leaves room for hesitation. Trying leaves room for excuses. Trying leaves room for negotiation. Becoming eliminates all of that. When you identify as someone who grows every day, even on your worst days, you'll do something small, something imperfect, but something. And that something keeps the identity alive. Building a new identity is about repetition, not perfection. It's about proving to yourself through tiny daily decisions that you are capable of becoming more than you've been. When you show up consistently, even in small ways, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who shows up. When you choose discipline over distraction, even once, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who honors your commitments. Every moment becomes an opportunity to cast a vote for the identity you want to embody. And you don't have to build this identity with giant actions. You build it through alignment. When your behaviors match the future you're creating, your identity shifts naturally. When your habits match your vision, your identity strengthens. When your choices match your goals, your identity transforms. The alignment is what creates momentum. And the momentum is what keeps you from slipping back into old patterns. One of the greatest breakthroughs you can ever have is realizing that you are not stuck with the identity you've been carrying. You are not trapped by your past. You are not defined by your mistakes. Identity is not fixed. It's not permanent. It's a construction, and you have the power to rebuild it at any moment. You can decide right now that you are no longer the person who avoids challenges. You are no longer the person who starts and stops. You are no longer the person who hides from their potential. You can decide that you are the person who grows, who rises, who follows through, who demands more of themselves because they know what they're capable of. Your identity is the foundation of your future. When you choose the identity of someone who moves forward, someone who grows, someone who acts, someone who refuses to settle, your daily habits begin to change without forcing them. You wake up differently. You think differently. You respond differently. You chase your goals with a level of certainty you didn't have before. And the people around you feel that shift because identity radiates. It shapes the energy you carry, the decisions you make, the opportunities you attract. If you want a different future, you have to become a different version of yourself, not someday, but now. Identity isn't something you wait for, it's something you choose, something you build, something you reinforce every single day through the actions you take. So choose the identity that matches the life you want and act like it's already yours.